In this video, we're going to do a couple more problems where we're converting simple regular expressions to finite-state automatons. And the regular expressions we're going to do in this video are a little more complicated than in the previous one. The one we're going to start out with is A, B, C, star, or J plus K. Now, there's a couple things to illustrate here. First of all, this OR here actually, although it's listed first in our list of rules here, it actually has the lowest precedence, meaning this is interpreted as A, B, C star or J plus K. So it's not A, B, and then C star or J, and then plus K. This is A, B, C star on the left, and then J plus K on the right, and then that whole thing as an alternate. Now, there's a couple of things to show you here. First of all, we haven't seen this plus yet, and the plus is kind of an extended notation in regular expressions. It's not part of our three rules. In fact, these three rules are all you really get for regular expressions. Let's review those three before we add on the plus. So the first rule is if we have a regular expression x or y, then we get this two states with two sets of edges going between them, where we can make a choice between going x or y. And then we have x followed by y, which is represented with three states. We go x and then to y, and then finally x star, which is represented with a state with a loop on it labeled with the x, and we can kind of repeat that loop as many times as we need. So we'll add to this another rule here that says anytime we have a regular expression with a plus, that's actually the same as x star, meaning we could represent it as a state, an edge going from one state to another, and then another one with a loop. So x plus is just saying we need one or more x's, and we could represent that with a mandatory x followed by 0 or more following x's. So let's do our example here. First of all, some possible strings that this could recognize would be, let's say, we could do A, B. That would be sufficient because we can do a C star here, means 0 or more C's. We could do A, B, C. We could do A, B, C, 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 C. And then on the other side, we can do J, K, because we got one or more J's followed by a K. And then we can do J, 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 K. There's our one or more J's followed by K. So here are 5 strings that are possibly going to be accepted by our regular expression. So we'll start with our conversion. Let's see, what can we do first? Let's work on the left-hand side first. Now, another thing is, in our rules, I had said here that if you have an x or a y, then you've got two states with an x or a y, and both x and y go to the same state. There's actually no real reason to do that, especially when you're doing something like this or, where you've got or something on the left, something on the right. This is essentially going to accept two different strings, A, B, C star, or J plus K, and there's actually no reason why they have to end up in the same place. They could end up in different places as long as we end up in a final state. So I'm going to do this in kind of two phases. So I'm going to start with my initial state, with the arrow pointing to it, and then watch what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say this edge over here is A, B, C star, and this one down here is the J plus K edge, and both of these are going to end up in the accepting state. So if we start here at our starting state on the left and we do an A, B, C star, we end up with an accepting state, which means we've done the left side, or we follow the right hand side and end up in an accepting state down there. So I'm going to now expand out each of these two edges into A, B, C star and J plus K. So let's go down here. Now, the first one, we already kind of know how to do that. Here's our starting state, here's our accepting state, and we're going to put one in the middle. The first edge is A, the second one is B, and then here's our loop for C. And just to see if that works, if we do something like A, B, we started our starting state, we go A, B, and we end up in the accepting one. That's good. ABC is starting at A, going to B, and then looping once on the C, and A, B, C, 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 C is starting at the A, going to B, and then looping on to C 4 times. So that part's going to work. Then we'll do the J plus K. Now remember, J plus can be rewritten as J, J star. We'll do that by the first edge is J. We'll do a loop for another J, and then finally an accepting state for K. So this says we're going to do JK, which is this string right here, J, 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 K, which is this one down here, and both of those work. So we've got a finite state automaton that has one starting state. Finite state automatons always have just one starting state, but they have two accepting states, and that's perfectly okay. As long as you end up on either one of those accepting states, then we can say that this finite state machine or finite state automaton accepts those strings. Now let's do another example. This one we are going to do the regular expression W, X or Y, star Z. So this one here, we have an alternate X or Y, and that's being repeated 0 or more times. So as usual, we'll start out with what are some strings that this accepts. We got WZ, because we have 0 or more of this thing in the middle. We have WXZ, for example, WYZ. How about WXXZ? That should work too, because we can go W and then pick an X or a Y, and then pick an X or a Y again, and then Z. How about WXYZ? That should work as well. How about WXYXZ and WYY? You get the idea here. So any combination of X and Y here between the W and Z should work out. So we'll start out with a starting state. We'll do our first one, which is the W. That part's easy. And then here's our accepting state with the Z. And we're going to do the X or Y as two loops. The first one is labeled X. The second one is labeled Y. And we end up with something that looks kind of like a propeller. Let's see if this works out. Let's try the first one here, WZ. We started our starting state. Go WZ. Yes, that one works. WXZ. We'll go W, then X, then Z. Very good. WYZ. This one works. WXXZ. Perfect. WXYZ. Excellent. WXYXZ. And then the last one is the WYYXZ. So all of those work out just fine for that. So to review, we have when we're doing finite state automatons, we always have one starting state. We have one or more accepting states, and then we use one of these three rules to determine what the picture is going to look like. And there were also some shortcuts for doing plus, which can be reduced to like XX plus, or excuse me, X plus can be reduced to XX star, and there's a way of drawing that.